I want to talk to you about the FA Cup because it was a wild night in the FA Cup. Eric Dyer ends up wading into the crowd. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes' time. From an Ireland perspective, we had the two of the brilliant young strikers that we have on the field at the end.
Yeah, it was great to see. Yeah, given real responsibility as well when the penalties came along. I was talking to watching the game with a couple of pals in there, and we're trying to pick the penalty takers like 5 minutes before the end, as you do. Troy was on the pitch by then, of course, and Adam, and just having the conversation whether you'd put Troy up actually in terms of whether to actually take a penalty.
You were flat no way.
No, but just in terms of, like, obviously pressure, a lot of pressure. There's a lot of noise around Troy, particularly from Mourinho. Mourinho's had some comments about Troy, and even of late, just in terms of maybe his kind of focus a little bit, maybe question his kind of mentality a little bit is one of the reasons why he hasn't committed to giving him maybe a start. So to bring him on and then obviously to give him the responsibility to take a penalty, that was interesting for me in terms of Mourinho. I mean, obviously he scores the penalty, then the young fella's cloud nine, feeling great about himself, etc., etc., etc. But of course, if it goes the opposite way and he misses the penalty, then you wonder a little bit about the mindset of the player. 17 years of age.
It's a setback, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big downer. So actually, the thought process of putting Troy in that position, actually to put him up to take a penalty.
So Mourinho says he's a confident boy. He scores with the underage team. He scores the under-23s. He wanted to take it. We let him do it.
Yeah.
Is there a bit where you say to the player and take him out of the?
Well, I think that's a good point because I think
Tim Krul before the penalty talking to him.
I gotta love Tim Krul, the best troll that's ever existed between the posts in football, it's fair to say. He was also yapping at the Costa Rica players when he famously came in for that penalty shootout back in the day, yapping at every player as well last night. And he knew exactly Troy Parrott was the guy.
So there's the picture. You didn't know who the penalty takers were. You were guessing who they were. Tim Krul seems to have known who they were. There's a picture here of his water bottle.
Yeah, and he said, and there's another picture of the water bottle lying on the ground afterwards where it said Parrott with an R beside it, so he knew Parrott was going to go to his right.
Does he not recognise the players as they're walking down the pitch? Does he really need their names written on a...
I would say he probably does.
On the water bottle.
Maybe he's like the Spurs fans that Mourinho said don't even know what Troy Parrott's the colour of his hair. Like that R is actually...
Does it really matter that you know the person's full Christian name before he takes a penalty? Does that come into the process here, thinking?
You think that
he loves it though, doesn't he? You can tell he loves it. He's got a reputation now off the back of that Costa Rica game you mentioned a couple of years ago, which we all remember. And you can tell he absolutely loves it. This is his thing, isn't it? You've seen the Premiership when he's faced a couple of penalties.
So there's a picture from 2014. Tim Krul saved 2 penalties against Costa Rica, as many as he saved in the previous 20 Premier League penalties he faced. So it's not like he was some kind of... He obviously was just in some hot streak at that stage. And now he's got a reputation. So the players are like, oh, Jesus, this is Tim Krul. He always saves penalties. Like, his record in the Premier League before 2014 was rubbish.
Also, Eric Lamela skied his penalty. Parrott's penalty was poor. Fernandez's penalty was worse.
But he'll make the argument he's got into the head prior to being taken. It'll never be proved, of course. But
living rent free.
This is his thing. I would mention the fact. I mean, I was watching as the penalties were being taken. I could even see it watching the bloody telly. I mean, he was off his line. For many did he save? Did he save 2 penalties? 2. He was off his line for those 2 penalties. I don't know what's happening with his VAR, but I just sense as if because. The last couple of penalties have been taken in the Premier League. I haven't seen any of the VAR replays, cameras, angles of the penalty kicks in terms of where the goalkeeper's feet are. So it's almost as if decisions are being made behind closed doors between the broadcaster, or whatever, Sky, whoever it is, and VAR. We're not going to check. We're not going to check because this is a can of worms. We're not even going to go there. So last night for me was a classic example. Before the penalties were taken, I was saying this would be interesting because surely they're going to show a replay of the keeper coming off the line. They're going to show an angle every single penalty because it's relevant now because you can make a decision, make it being retaken. I didn't see one. I didn't see one last night. And I'd even suggest kind of manhandling the box start of the season was a big topic of conversation. Yeah. People getting pulled over. This is going to be interesting. It's going to stop. Cameras are going to be on it. We don't see any of it. Again, someone's had a conversation. Listen, we have a difficult time. Let's not even go there. Otherwise,
let's not use it for the one thing that everybody will actually go, oh yeah, I can see that. I understand that. That's really easy. That would work.
But I can understand it because it's an absolute minefield in terms of this. Because for me, it's like probably in 10% of the cases, keepers actually keep. It's that back leg, isn't it? You have to keep one of your feet in contact with the goal line.
He would have saved both penalties, even if he was behind his line.
That's Superman case.
And maybe I would actually put more credence in the fact that he might have wound him up rather than the fact that he was off his line by 2 inches. But like Jose came out afterwards and was like, doesn't blame Troy Parrott for missing the penalty whatsoever, but is then saying, this is why I told you so. The previous 30 minutes told you this guy was not up to it, clearly not ready. Which I think is just a little bit harsh. Where you finish your sentence at, he is forgiven for missing a penalty. He had the courage to put his hands up and actually take a penalty, and that's where I'm now going to finish my bit on Troy Parrott.
The problem is the 30 minutes. Now people can see that he has to work a lot. So don't think Parrott is the second Harry Kane, because he's just a young kid that needs to work. Let's forget the penalty, because we all miss penalties. It was not Troy.
So what was he talking about? His performance, the kind of 20-25 minutes he was on the pitch, he was dissecting his performance. Yeah, I find that very strange. It's almost if he'd made his mind very quickly on Troy, because I remember reading the comment, he was only in the door not even a month, and he was basically, he'd made the decision, look, Troy Parrott's not going to be involved, forget about this kid coming in, he's not ready, he's not going to be in my immediate plans. And if I was Troy, like, I would have found that hard to deal with. That was a really kind of deflating comment to hear from your new manager coming in. You're desperate to impress. You've been on the periphery of the squad under Pochettino. A lot of good things been said about you. And all of a sudden, the new manager comes in and says, no, not in the immediate future. You're not in my plans.
Here's the thing. He has been used. Like, this isn't that unusual for somebody of his age grade to be seeing this few minutes, right?
No.
So if Mourinho just said, oh yeah, we're giving him all the exposure that he deserves at this stage. He's coming along great. Like,
yeah,
look,
it's just publicly, Jared, isn't it? It's just publicly coming out and putting him there. You can take him into the office. You can have those conversations maybe with him in the confines of his office, like on a one-to-one basis. But publicly to put it out there for the football and public to digest, that can be difficult. That can hurt a little bit as a player.
They're clearly worried about something.
Or maybe Jose, like I'm sure there's multiple aspects at play here. Maybe Jose actually really hates the idea of a confident 18-year-old coming along and putting his hand up and saying, I'll take a penalty. Maybe Jose Mourinho really likes to have all his players under his thumb. I guess he could have done, but that would have been up to him, I guess, before that. But I don't know if he is fully forgiving of Troy Parrott for missing a penalty last night. I'd say I saw someone on Twitter last night saying Jose Mourinho standing behind Parrott there, pointing Tim Krul which way he's going to shoot the penalty because he wanted him to save it so badly. So. I think that there is just this strange thing that Jose has with certain players, and I'm sure that there are things that we don't see. That
I think Troy Parrott needs to knuckle down. I think that's true. I think that if your coach is saying
that though?
Well, I think
that's just off the back of Mourinho's comments, though. So you're taking Mourinho's comments as gospel. Those kind of aspersions which he's thrown out there.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I am taking them because he has the most interest in Troy Parrott being a world-class player who's ready to step into the team.
Yeah, like, I agree with that.
He absolutely needs somebody.
That's the logic, there's logic.
Like, he needs a trophy. We know how obsessed he is with trophies. He absolutely wanted to win that game last night. It's a home game. If they're still in the FA Cup, there's a big game coming up in the next round. It's exactly the type of thing that Mourinho lives for. So, like, I don't think Mourinho is throwing this stuff out willy-nilly.
But it's dangerous for me. It's dangerous because it could go badly on him. I mean, the kid could crumble. I mean, I don't know Troy Parrott too well in terms of, like, mentally how strong he is, character, personality, the whole thing. But there's not too many 17, 18-year-olds out there who kind of getting hung out a little bit by a manager would be able to take that on board, let it bounce off you almost and turn it around you and use it as a motivation. That can happen in your maybe early, mid-20s. You're kind of a bit more hardened. You can kind of deal with it. But at 17, 18 years of age, that can be pretty devastating.
So should somebody who knows him step in and say, look, don't worry, you're going to be okay?
Well, I hope so. I'm hoping he's got those people around, like coaches, underage and senior pros and stuff like that are looking at whispering his ear and putting their arms around him. That's people say, tough love for Mourinho. It's a man's game, professional game. But it's all about individual players. We're all different, we're all made differently. Like, and if this is the best approach, we might be talking about this in 2 years' time and saying, you know what, on reflection, it was the best thing Mourinho could have done. Troy Parrott might come out and say, you know what, focus wasn't right, getting distracted in one or two areas. But you know what, that really turned me around. The comments from the manager publicly out there, it really focused me. Like, it turned me kind of career around. That may well be the case, but I don't like to hear it publicly, managers coming out.
Should somebody in the Ireland setup, either with the under-21s or the senior team, be ringing and saying, look, don't worry about it?
That'd be nice, potentially, because Mick, off the back of it now, has come out and said, well, understandably, well, Troy's not me plans. He hasn't been playing. So off the back of Mourinho's kind of negative comments, no, he's not involved, don't see him short term, he's not going to have any game time. Mick probably understandably said, well, look, I can't consider him now. So now from being in a situation a couple of months ago, playing the friendly last November, and actually playing well, I was very impressed with what I saw. and him thinking, right, I'm on my way now, international, step on the ladder, here we go. Boom! All of a sudden, that door is shut on him as well for the immediate future. Is
Yeah. I wonder
that's tough. Like that's a couple of blows for the young fella, like in the space of a few months.
Yeah.
I feel for him a little bit.
All right. The other thing, obviously, Adam Idah played last night, and he scored his penalty. So how did he play?
Are we just going to discuss the penalty?
Like, the penalty's the only thing.
We're reading too much into these penalties.
I don't think
he wasn't on long enough.
No, absolutely not. It's like an unbelievable penalty, and was sort of postage stamp stuff.
Tommy said he played pretty well in my ear. 50 minutes.
Well, like if you're comparing him to Troy Parrott, Parrott got 2 touches. Eric Lamela had a reluctance to actually passing the ball in certain aspects. Got a few nice touches, no question about it. He did. It was better than, say, his performance against Manchester United when he got his Premier League start, for example. He got a bit more space on the counter and stuff like that. But the penalty was unbelievable. To have that sort of confidence to belt that in to the top corner like that was absolutely class.
After the game, Spurs midfielder Eric Dyer confronted a fan in the stands. It finished 3-2 to Norwich, so they got through to the next round.